Namaste, everyone. Many blessings to you. This is Vera Luz from Divine Simon Coaching, and it's wonderful to speak with you all today to share. I'm going to share a guitar piece today, and that is to channel the super cathartic full moon in the sky this week, which is the full moon in Aries. So I want to break down the cycle for you and see how it's been showing up in all these recent news stories. Popular media like Dune coming out, and how it's really been impacting our personal relationships already, and will continue to this week. So full moon at 27 degrees of Aries takes place this Wednesday, and Aries is a sign ruled by Mars, and this moon in Aries actually has a square from Mars, and it involves Pluto. And you may know that in astrology, some of the planets relate to certain aspects in the sky. And the square is an aspect of tension and conflict, confrontation. It's a difficult aspect, something we have to work through. Well, that is the nature of Mars. So this is a moon ruled by Mars, has the Mars aspect, and Mars is in a square to this moon. So this is why this is the most Martian full moon of the year. And by Martian, we mean, intense, possibly aggressive, irritable, defensive, combustible. That's some of the potentials going on. Well, we also have Mars in this square to Pluto, and that's where there's this sense of something cathartic that needs to break through. Like this is a breaking point moment for us. And so some things may need to be let go of or released at this time in our lives during this full moon. As you know, the full moon, it represents a culmination moment, a fruiting moment, and it's always a dance of oppositions and polarity. And that's highlighted by the signs that Mars and the moon are in. The sun and Mars are close. Mars is in Libra, sun in Libra. The moon is in Aries at 27 degrees. Pluto is square in 27 Capricorn. Actually, it's about 25, 26 Capricorn right now. And so this is something that we could see this volatility with these multiple squares happening. And when we talk about that release, we're talking about the fact that Pluto is wanting power through this full moon. And that power may make us realize on a personal level, on the solar level, because the sun has been squaring Pluto all this last week, that we might not feel powerful enough in our life. We may not feel impactful enough, like we are influencing the world in as deep of a way as we'd like. And some issues that may arise for us during this is in our personal relationships. Are we empowered enough? Do we need to reclaim power? Have we been giving power away? What does that even mean for us? This is very important to explore during this full moon. The moon is in the sign of Aries, so it's always an important time for us to be initiating, to be pioneering, to be bringing entrepreneurial energy, and to get behind what really brings us passion. The challenge here with an Aries moon and then the Mars-Pluto intensity is that there can be almost like a uncontrollable, violent type of energy with this. And that's why we want to use one of the other aspects in the sky, which is Mars trine Jupiter, trine is a very helpful aspect. It's the nature of Jupiter. So Mars is in the Jupiter aspect to Jupiter. This is very empowering for us to move towards our goals that have to do with teaching, philosophy, finding a spiritual meaning in life, travel potentially. Definitely this is a very strong athletic energy. And always with Aries, we want to move the energy much more viscerally through our body. And then Mars-Jupiter is a very competitive energy. And so the best way we might work with that is to do some kind of competitive sport right now. It can be with yourself, with a partner you may be arguing with, or a friend of yours, or a team sport. But it's something where you are actively moving your body. Dance can be really great. Of course, martial arts would be ideal during this time. if we don't do that, then the energy is like building and building, and it has to have this kind of explosive volcanic, we think of the volcano with Pluto, release. And speaking of volcanoes, we could also use this transit in a very empowering sexual way. This could be a beautiful time to do an alchemical type of sexuality, deep sacred sexuality with Tantra, with very transparent communication, be very vulnerable, play with that energy, right? Could be also a good time to work with bondage and discipline, sadomasochism, BDSM, and look at playing consciously with power. One person has dominance, one person is submissive, reverse the roles. What's moving for you at this time with that kind of experience for you? It can be extremely cathartic and releasing, and probably quite pleasurable during this cycle. Aries is also a sign of very strong physical sexuality. But when you add this Mars-Pluto dynamic in the sky, we want to go very deep, yeah, and quite intense. And so that's one of the invitations here. And this energy, again, beware of the frustration that can come with this full moon. The violence within ourselves, it can come out in just very reactive ways, or like I want to throw something, because it's not, something isn't working right now. Maybe you felt that over the last few weeks with Mercury retrograde, but Mercury's gone direct now. Thank God and goddess and gods and goddesses. Mercury going direct at 10 degrees of Libra, but Mercury is opposite Chiron. The opposition is an angle of tension. And Chiron can both bring wounds and healing. So what we will see right now is that through our speech, through our words, through the vocabulary, especially around relationships where Mercury is in Libra, and through our collaborations and through themes of social justice, we're going to see this Chiron surge where we are looking for a way to speak our hearts, speak our truth, but we need to be careful to not throw daggers at each other in that process with this moon, and wound the other or others instead of heal. And we hear that also in the discourse right now, politically, and what's going on in the world. There's been some incredible news stories in the last week, 2 weeks. We have protests, riots happening all over the world, a lot in Europe, around vaccine mandates and how they are affecting people in terms of their jobs and needing to go to work with a vaccine, or they will lose their job. And how this is actually creating a lot of attention in the US, in Europe, and other places. And potentially this could really ricochet, domino into what we see every Saturn-Uranus square, which will be exact again in December, which is a massive economic collapse worldwide. When people refuse to have the vaccine and go to work, there could be a shortage of people working, and this could create a massive economic loss, or there can be as we see, a problem with the supply chains happening in the world. And then we see, again, these protests. I just saw one in Quebec, I think that's happening. That's a silent protest. And also with mask mandates, it seems to be hitting sort of a breaking point where people are getting very frustrated with this, and they're seeing a kind of, the politicians speaking to this and then not doing it. You can see recent political situations in the US where the president has said to do that, and then he's caught on camera not doing that. So there are these kinds of hypocrisies going on that the collective is getting really fed up with, and being fed certain stories about the efficacy of vaccines, and then being told they have to get the booster shot and then the third booster shot. And this is coming to a kind of a collective breaking point. And we might see some more of this really get into the public space, into more protests and riots with the Saturn-Uranus energies in December and the eclipse energies coming in this next month in November. But we also had this last week something that was quite Plutonian, perhaps, which was a news story that astronomers had received these radio waves, these signals from the galactic center, and they really don't know what they are. They're some kind of radio waves, but they're a novel source of information, and that first of all, there is a black hole at the galactic center, and there's this sort of great mystery to this transmission, and that really does connect strongly with that Pluto symbolism of the great mystery. And there is something really deep and dark and mysterious, like the cave of the unconscious, that we're all collectively going through right now, and on a personal level and in our intimate relationships, we're going through that. And so each of us are really needing to fulfill this Libra role of being a coach, a counselor, someone who can listen with their hearts. But remember that Libra is the scales of justice. It's connected with Ma'at in the Egyptian tradition, who you may know weighed the soul against the feather. And if the soul weighed more than the feather, then the story goes, the soul would be devoured by Amit, which was this great sort of like crocodile spirit that would devour that soul that had not really lived enlightened in the heart, like where the heart was in this light space. And that's part of the Egyptian esoteric tradition, is to live so that the heart feels light in every moment. Live in a way that you would not regret anything that you do or say. Very important during this cycle right now, that we really bring a lot of intention and consciousness to our actions, to our thoughts, to our feelings, to our emotions, to our speech. And it's hard to do with that Aries reactivity, which moves very fast. And so we want to ask questions right now. We want to question ourselves, right? The Socratic Method, Socrates. I'm reading a book about Socrates right now, and one of the things that the scholar of this book, Ward Farnsworth, talks about is some of the major bullet points of what the Socratic Method is, and why we want to practice it. And it's so valuable in looking at our relationships. Because one of the fundamental components when you study Socrates and a lot of the philosophers, especially the Stoics, is that we are searching for truth. And in the inquiry for truth, we're not concerned with being right. In fact, if we are called out for an error, right, by someone we may consider both a friend or a lover, or someone maybe we don't even like, or a stranger, that is a favor that we're being given because we're in error in some way. And the philosophers, remember that Sophia, wisdom, the love of truth, that's what philosophy is. And we need to love truth more than anything right now, right? And this is again one of these tactics that's talked about with Socrates and the Stoics. If I am willing to confess an error, there is a sign there that I'm healthy in my body, mind, spirit, and heart, right? Oh, I was wrong about this. I would like to be right. I would like to be in truth. I'd like to be in alignment and resonant with what's real. And challenges are wanted, right? And they're definitely coming up right now. And so when we are in an argument, you remember that all of philosophy was kind of based off of the rhetoric, of arguing certain points as we try to get into the heart of the truth. So an argument does not have to become violent and dramatic. It can be a way of like on a ship, it can be the fuel for the ship. And I like to call it the creation ship, that we're riding together. Like, okay, how do we get to our goal, which is hopefully peace and love and compassion and creativity together? How do we get there quicker? Well, we get there quicker by really letting go of the egos and trying to open our hearts to spirit and to be guided into truth. And I want to be challenged, in my viewpoints, because I want more than anything to find that truth. But Yeah, when we start to feel that destructive energy right now, we have to really come into the heart space, come into forgiveness. And and when we're speaking, this is another thing with Socrates and the Socratic method, is that sarcasm and name calling and denunciation could be this Chiron Mercury opposition right now, where we could wound with the words. And so what we actually want to do is really call that out in ourselves. As soon as we want to react that way, we really know that when we are searching for truth, we have to be rigorous, we have to be precise, we have to dig into the details, but we have to be courteous along the way. We have to be gracious along the way. We have to be humble along the way. This is a cycle right now where perseverance, where resilience is really powerful. It's like the scarab, it is really symbolic of what's going on. We have to push through what may be really uncomfortable this week. And maybe it's been a little bit like that so far for everyone. Again, using dance, using breath work, studying the esoteric. Pluto rules the occult, the hidden, right? And bringing that Jupiter spirit of what can I learn through this process? How can I grow and be expanded? That's the approach we want to take. You also might want to use music in a more cathartic way, listening to something that really, gets your angst out of you. Could be metal, could be goth, it could be tribal music. So I'm going to play a song for you here that I know I've been coming deep into my music, a lot of my guitar recently, some of my heavier pieces. So I'm going to play that as a kind of cathartic expression of this cycle. And maybe we can purge some energy with that energy and come into the heart of justice and the scales of justice here within ourselves. So thank you for joining this call here today. Feel free to share this. And I am starting a new course all about this topic, which is called The Art of Partnership, which will be linked here. The Art of Partnership, Evolving Intimacy with Tantric Astrology. So it'll be 8 classes all about bringing the wisdom of astrology into your relationships, partnerships, collaborations, and bringing some other tools like A Course in Miracles, Tantra, and Stoicism. Oh, thank you all. All right. Happy full moon in Aries. Firecrackers, fireworks. Be in your heart. Namaste, Verda Luz, divine timing, coaching. Take care.